Number 10 is bandages. Introduced well, actually, it was just introduced when Fortnite came out because it was a basic item. You see, bandages really aren't the absolute worst thing in the game, but let's be honest here, there is so much better healing in Fortnite that these are basically useless. Because in the game right now, as of Chapter 5, Season 3, there are multiple fishes, multiple fruits and vegetables, medkits, Nuka-Colas, and they're just all infinitely better than bandages. Number 9 is the Crash Pad Juniors. Crash Pad Juniors came out in Chapter 2, Season 2, but why is this even a thing? Like, actually, Crash Pads, the normal ones, are like 1,000 times better in every way possible. I feel like when I throw a Crash Pad Junior onto the ground, it's like a 50-50 chance of me missing the pad or me actually hitting the pad. Number 8 is Bottle Rockets. Bottle Rockets came out in Chapter 1, Season 7, and if you ask any Fortnite player that was playing back then if they even used any of these, chances are they didn't. To start off, the Bottle Rockets did like 0 damage to players, which I kind of guess that is the whole point of the Bottle Rockets, because it did do decent amount of damage to build structures, but even then, doing damage to build structures seem absolutely weak. Speaking of OG items, number 7 are the smoke grenades. Smoke grenades came out in Chapter 1, Season 1, and back then when they were out, they were kind of worth using. But now whenever they come back to the game, it kind of seems like it's more of a disadvantage to the player that threw the smoke grenade, because it seems like the players that are in the smoke grenades always can see you somehow. I don't really know. It's just really pointless. Number 6 is the turret stations, introduced in Chapter 2, Season 7. Honestly, I don't really have anything to say about these, except when you're placing it down and you're going to go sit into the turret, just know that you're about to get sniped, JFK'd in about 7.2 seconds. Now let's talk about some of the useless weapons, because at number 5 is the Primal Pistol, introduced in that terrible Primal season, Chapter 2, Season 6. Now, in all honesty, all the weapons in that season were pretty bad, but I do not know how at Epic Games they sat down and made the Primal Pistol. They must have hated their job. The weapon had about 8 bullets and did around 35 damage if you were in range, but even if you were in range, you were missing like 60% of your shots. On the topic of terrible weapons, number 4 is the crossbow, introduced in Chapter 1 at Season 2. The good about the crossbow was the headshot multiplayer, because if you were hitting headshots, you were actually doing a lot of damage. But the bad about the crossbow is everything else, and the worst part about this is they made like 4 different variants of the crossbow, and they all suck each and every time. Alright, we broke into the top 3, and at number 3 are the Wasp Jars. This is a semi-recent item being released in Chapter 4, Season 3, but the Wasp Jars were obtained by interacting with the swarm of wild wasps. Interacting with the wasps was produced the jar, but no one, and I mean no one, used these items in Chapter 3, Season 4, because honestly, they sucked. They did about 15 damage per tick, and they lasted about 30 seconds on the battlefield, but the worst part about this is the enemies would just move out of the swarm. So you do like 15 damage, and then the enemies already moved on. You know, they're gone. Coming in at number 2 is probably one of the worst mythics in the game, and it came out in the Primal season back in Chapter 2, Season 6. It is the Spire Jump Boost. Now, the Spire Jump Boost allowed players to do a glider redeploy when they perform 3 jumps in a row, which is a cool concept for an item, but the way to unlock this item every match is why people didn't like this at all. The Spire jump boosts were obtained by first eliminating the Guardian at a Guardian tower. When the Guardian was eliminated, they would drop a rune stone which must be carried to the Spire. Once the player reaches the Spire, they can input the rune stone into a select area at the base, and shortly after, the boots will appear. Now imagine doing that every single game to get a worthless mythic. And lastly, at number 1, another terrible item from Chapter 2, Season 6. Who would have thought the Primal season was the Hunter Cloak? Literally, all this item did was made you invisible to the animal AIs. What a crazy idea, Epic Games. If you want to see how a Battle Royale shut down in 34 days, click this video right here.